Automation is your friend. We see so much growth happening in the market because of this. It's not really a detriment to any of the labor numbers you hear about that come out, right? It's really not pegging towards that. It's actually helping spark a whole new catalyst for debate as to where does the future of jobs go? What do we want to spend our time focusing on if we don't have to worry about all these little things?
Welcome to the Inside Forbes Councils podcast. Each episode shares transformative insights and advice from members of Forbes Councils, a group of invitation-only communities for successful executives and entrepreneurs.
Hey everyone, this is Stephen Ganoza. Welcome to Inside Forbes Councils. Today we have my interview with Derek Gerber. Derek is the Global Marketing Director of ActivePDF and a member of the Forbes Communications Council. ActivePDF provides automated document management solutions for enterprise applications and critical business processes. We're going to talk about what is robotic process automation, is it worth the investment, and the impact on the jobs market. Derek, to kick us off, tell us a little bit about who you are.
For sure. Hello, my name is Derek Gerber. I'm the Global Marketing Director at ActivePDF, and here we are today to talk about RPA.
This may be elementary, but for anybody who doesn't know, kind of tell us what we mean by RPA. What does it stand for? What does it mean?
You know, what's so funny is I was just walking down the hall before we got on here, and I mentioned RPA to one of the other people walking down the hall, and they said, I have no idea what that means. And that's what's so funny to me is that here comes the most spent upon segment of an industry, right? Here comes one of the biggest things we've ever seen in technology, and many people still have no idea what it means. So robotic process automation, it's come in a lot of different flavors. It's really much more evolved than screen scraping back in the day, if you've ever heard of that. But now we're in a whole new sense of automation, but still kind of at a fork in the road. And I'm going to get to that in a second, but really robotic process automation is trying to automate the everyday processes that people struggle with. Maybe I have to copy paste data from over here to onboard a new employee over into this ERP system. Or if I'm a banking consultant and I need to approve transactions, encrypt a document and send it off for signatures. All those processes add up, minutes at a time, hours at a time, days at a time. What we try to focus on here in ActivePDF is simplifying that RPA process. So a lot of leading vendors in the world that have these platforms are still working to struggle to try to get these into different implementations. So when people talk about RPA, is it affecting me? Yes, it is every single day. But is it still evolving? Absolutely. And it needs a lot more maturization because we need to get to new levels in which there's not so much service involved. And that's kind of what our angle has been here for ActivePDF is how do we take this really powerful technology that came into the scene roughly 2015 where it started to really catch fire again, but then turn it into something that anyone every day could use in their life, whether it's a personal or at work or on the go. And so in the end of the day, those little common tasks that we never really think about, those annoyances, we try to automate that with RPA technology, whether it's in very large enterprise institutions or if it's completely automated in the back end, processing millions of documents a day. Could be mobile banking transactions, again, an HR employee onboarding, you can name the process because there's documents involved. And so that's where we really like to stick ourselves is in those gaps to solve a lot of those bridges and come to those different solutions for our clients.
Okay, great. So I want to ask how that practically happens, but before I do, what's screen scraping? Like where have we come from, to today?
Oh God, that's an amazing question. Screen scraping literally was taking a picture of your screen that you're looking at. So if I'm working on a computer every day, I'm typing my stuff in, it's taking a shot of that, OCRing it, and then essentially looking at the coordinates on the grid as to where a robot should click next. So if you can imagine, it's a very simple linear type of approach. You're like, oh, that's actually not too bad. But what happened is displays change, UIs change, things change that we can't control in our lives, and that actually creates a ton more problems in the scene. Because now you can automate a million different things, and guess what? You just automated it the wrong way. So maybe you were supposed to be approving all those loan applications coming today, and you declined them. And you never really got the approval notice on the back end. And you're going, what happened in that process? Something small like that used to be a big bane in existence. So that's gotten a lot better since that day. So in this world of RPA 2.0, if you would, a lot of people like to reference it that way. A lot of these changes have come along and made it easier to adapt, but there's still 3 different types of RPA where we're at. So you have assisted, where a human still has to be involved. But if I were to put it into an analogy, it's like having a desktop companion. as you're working on your task, that little pop-up reminder that you see, say, hey, would you like to do something with this document? Would you like to share it with someone? As we've all seen in our mobile devices, even when you hit the new share icon versus 5 years ago, it's different. It pops up things that it recommends, right? That's a small form of automation. Going into the unassisted world, that's like the pie in the sky ideal. That's what everyone wants to get to. Just run, just work, no problem. I don't want to touch it. It's just going to work for years. That is still being polished up, but it does exist in some forms. And what I'm finding is that in this whole mix of things, it's very smart technologies, but they're still very dumb in the sense that they work off of a lot of rule-based workflows. At most, want to work in between 5 different applications or do 5 different big tasks in the process, right? Once it gets beyond that, it gets a little hairy. So one of the most popular installations right now is the hybrid model. And that's where we're basically inserting full automation in places where we can, but then also trying to segment and figure out how can I help my everyday user. So for where we come from is, trying to guess at what we think would be the best option to now, here we're inserting this small robotic companion into your life, and it's going to help make you better at your job. It's going to help you spend less time on these things in between, and that's been the goal this whole time. So it's a very exciting segment of the industry, and that's why Gartner and Forrester and Deloitte, they all want to say this is the fastest growing segment. But one of the things that I think that is most challenging, to go back on my point, is that while it's going to be a $2.9 billion industry by 2023, the services division, so the software only is what I mentioned there, the services that'll come out of that will be a $12 billion industry itself. So there's a big swing in the market. Everybody knows it. And with all the latest players jumping into the game with their technologies, there's a lot of different ways you can approach this, but still 30 to 50% of RPA implementations today fail because people don't have the right vision and processes in place to carry that mission out.
All right, so let me see if I understand this correctly. They're failing because they don't know how to program it, or is it that they're failing because the design of the application is off?
Absolutely. And I think one of the first things we want to start is, what are we trying to talk about? Automating a process. So what we're also finding is that certain processes are way more dynamic than what we originally thought. When we thought one piece of mail was coming in one way and being processed by one person, we find out there's a mailroom of 50 people in which, all these people are opening up mail and trying to get things scanned or automated or whatever it is in that process. So when we get down to the very basics, one, we're understanding what is a good thing to process. What should a human touch, not a computer? They're very sensitive information in between. You can start thinking about healthcare applications, right? Do you want to automate the wrong thing or have data sent to the wrong place and never know? So putting different stops into place, I think, is certainly one of the biggest challenges right now, but also working towards what is the biggest barrier? One is the learning curve. We get that. But two, over time, it still costs a lot of money and it still costs a lot of time and effort to put these things in. So these projects that aren't making it through, people are investing 3 to 5 years of their career trying to put this in and make something work. And it falls down in a lot of different places when it's almost like you're trying to do too much. We all think that RPA is this great blanket term and I can go in and fix everything, but it's still in that evolutionary stage. It still needs more maturization in order for us to better take advantage of this technology and basically what we call turnkey, just turn it on and let it figure it out itself. Maybe that's RPA 3.0 or 4.0. Okay, but that's not here right now. But there's a lot of opportunity on the table to simplify this process just based off of what we talked about. A lot of the money that goes into this is just the services, just people trying to custom code elements, people trying to work in between applications, and people who are struggling to find how to basically turn a $12 an hour worker into a $1.52 an hour bot that could do the same job. So coming from that scale, we're in that little bit of a turbulence type of spin right now, but it's really starting to come around. And I think the next 3-4 years will be the most exciting.
Yeah, that's going to lead me to kind of a devil's advocate question. Why not just hire somebody to do this? If it costs so much time and money to program these automations, what's the time horizon for it to pay back versus be hiring somebody?
Yes. Yeah. No, you know what? There's a use case that came across my desk a few weeks ago. A very large insurance company was just trying to automate new applications coming in, new claims, that are being processed, right? They had a room full of a lot of different people trying to figure this out, do this by hand. It was slow. Customers complained. So focusing back on the beginning of our conversation about enhancing the best experience for their clients, they made a mandate to put in RPA. And so it took them 9 months just to put that piece in. But then within the first 2 weeks, it saved them over $4 million in automation costs. So it's, where's the trade-off, right? Are you willing to invest the time, the manpower, and also turn your whole business on its head and rethink, what's the best experience for our client, not what's the best experience for our own personal infrastructure. So that's where a lot of these gaps in between these, solutions that they provide or services that they can get to faster, right? It's just literally processing things. So the more that you can automate, the better. But again, you still fall down if you don't have that vision in place. You don't have that plan trying to figure out what am I going to accomplish in the next year with this technology. Otherwise, it'll just be an endless dream trying to automate things that will never end up working out. So it's really taking it from, top to bottom with experts that know what they're talking about, driving those digital transformation processes.
And kind of leads to an interesting thought about, you're going to make a lot of jobs go away by automating, but you're also creating a new type of job in terms of somebody's got to implement this stuff.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of my favorite topics right now because it takes more people to put in robots to what we would think replaces other jobs. You're creating more jobs, just like you're saying, more revenue in the billions just by having more robots. And some of the models that we've discussed in futuristic movies and this and that, right? There are humans who are maintaining the robots, and that's like their job. And essentially, that is going to be a small part of this. But if you have a division full of 10 people doing the same thing, what's most likely going to happen is that one bot will come in and do those manual labor tasks, and will be run and operated by just one person who understands that process best. So it's kind of a slippery slope. So what do those other people do, right? Well, do we want to advance as a society and put them into other things as we automate more so that they can generate more revenue for the company, be helpful in a different way, right? And that's one of our leading engineers that actually helped develop this product, Alex, in the back. That's what he feels like. Because I asked him point blank. I said, hey, are we trying to take people's jobs with this? And he just like, that's not really what we're doing here. We're trying to make people's lives better. And you think of all the experiences that come out of it, the services that we can provide on our mobile devices, hundreds of millions of transactions a day, completely automated with 100% expectation of instant gratification. So think of all these things, that takes automation, and that takes brain power and manpower to build those types of systems for scalability. So even from our own engineers in the back, Alex, Richard, even Tim Sullivan, our CEO, this is not about replacing people. This is not a people replacement technology at all. This is the people enhancement technology, a customer experience enhancement, right? Less errors, do it faster, do it more. That's what this is all about. So there's a lot of common nomenclature that robotics and automation are going to take all our jobs. They're going to take some jobs. They will. But jobs that are going to be, next will be the better ones. So everyone continuing, their ability to understand this technology and how it affects their everyday life, I think is critical for everyone. Again, in your personal or your work life, but partnering with brands that can help you make that journey across both ends of the spectrum, that's where we want to be, and that's where we are right now.
Right. It's kind of, which is a whole larger issue we don't have time for about, what is the jobs of tomorrow and prepare
on the next one.
Great. In terms of RPA, you guys have a new product coming out, DocSpace. Tell me a little bit about that.
DocSpace is definitely one of the hottest things that we've ever had to do in the last 20 years because people have been knocking on our door to get this done. And why? So our background as a PDF technology provider, our core heart, blood, soul line has been developers who need to put our technology into their software, right? They need to automate this transaction in the back end for their other system a million times a day. We've gotten to the point where a lot of them say, hey, I know that it's only 4 lines of code to turn on your stuff and put it in, and it's great, it works for years, but I need to be able to do this a little faster, a little more dynamically. And I want like a visual way to interpret this. Oh, and by the way, I also want to be able to use it at home. I want to be able to use it wherever I go. So, make it happen. And that's essentially what we've gotten to is we went back into the kitchen, right? We took all our smartest brains and said, how do we take all our greatest technologies that traditionally only developers could use and put it into a desktop application that now millions of people around the world can use. So you could download it today, put it in, it'll start working. And so, all the things that you would love to do in between applications, like compressing a PDF, combining different PDF files, redacting sensitive information, all those things can be done on the fly, on demand, or through highly automated batch automation processes. If anyone's familiar with those, you have like a drop folder, a hot folder type of mentality where things are just constantly processing 24/7, like unassisted automation, like we discussed earlier. That's what we're offering with this product right now. So for everyone who's ever had an Office document and it needs to get into a PDF format, you've gone to the internet, you've Googled, how do I convert this stupid one little document? Oh my God, please help me. that's where we fill the gap. And I think that one of the things that really differentiates us is not a lot of people trust uploading personal information into the cloud. So when it comes to DocSpace, you could do it offline. You could do it right there on your desktop. There is no transmission of your personal information up into some cloud database that, you said you accepted the terms and everything else and have no idea where that data lives, right? So in a world full of data privacy issues, we take that offline and we can do it on a desktop or on a back-end server for enterprises. So literally you have the same technology that's already driving millions of automations a day around you, now in the palm of your hand, where you can just do a handful of documents if you want. Like that's a big stretch to finally get there, but that's what people are asking for. And that's what we've done is we've helped build those little robots that help implement our little technology in ways that you would never even know what's happening. It just works. So that's what makes it fun for us.
So then this new product makes the learning curve a lot easier, right? Because it's got a graphical user interface. You don't need to be able to code to use it. Is that right?
That's right. No code, low code type of scenarios. So basically from the start, you can process and compress a document in 3 clicks. You don't have to open up an application, wait for it to load, go to file, go to edit, you don't have to take all those steps. You literally can just either right click and do it. You can drag and drop it into the application itself and say, hey, just give me this output. So you don't even have to think about it. But then on the flip side, you could just have a folder where these things go automatically. So if you have an email that's always sending the same file and you want to grab that, compress it, encrypt it, and send it off for a digital signature, you can do that too. But one of the things that I think that I want to touch on too is the accessibility factor that we're bringing to the table. There are many, many hundreds of millions of dollars currently in the legal system and other court cases where companies, entities, entire organizations are being sued because they're not making their content accessible for everyone. So accessibility is another big area for RPA because essentially in organizations like Cal State Fullerton, where you have 500 professors, it's mandated that we want to be able to make all of our content accessible for all the students, whether they have special needs or not, or need special assistance, different types of ways to learn. Every single teacher is responsible for that, but how to get to that, there's literally not enough time in the day. So we're working on ways to right now, seriously, work with them to figure out how can we make everything accessible and make it correct and automatically assign itself, the appropriate tagging so that it could be read by someone in the organization. But, with 1 to 3% of the entire, organization or the entire university's population, needing those types of services, you just really want to find a way to better enhance their experience. So I come back to the experience part is that all these automation technologies that sometimes get a bad rap are really being used to enhance students' lives. Enhancing your life, my life, banking transactions, everything that you do that you're touching, there's some automation in it now. And that's because of this type of technology. So the accessibility part, I take a big personal notice for it because I think that's like a really powerful part of the market that's growing. And I believe that's going to be really needed in the years to come.
Yeah. Automation's not evil. It's not all bad.
Thank you. That's the story. That's really where we're at. It is our friend. We're all enjoying it, by the way. I just deposited a mobile check last week. Wasn't a bad experience. Those things, those are what we expect in our life. Recently bought a house, did the entire thing through my mobile phone. Never once signed a physical piece of paper during that entire process. So how does, that's an automation that's built somewhere in the back end. And by the way, it was all done on a PDF. So I was signing our own PDFs, drinking our own Kool-Aid, going through this process, now talking to you about how does this benefit our lives. So it's everywhere around you. It is not the enemy. It is our best friend. And I think that, the hype that comes off of it is some negative connotation of the Terminator, being all aware. We're not there yet. There's no self-aware software that's going to come out, and try to just take your job. No, we're using these things to get rid of the mundane tasks, the error-prone tasks, the things that take forever to do that no one wants to do, and turning that into a great experience for every user. So from front to back, it's come so far from just screen scraping to now trying to dynamically choose with other entities and other people that are coming across these business decisions, Like, what would you like to do? Would you like to share that photo to Instagram, or would you like to approve that loan document for $100 million? Like, there's so many different stretches of what the automation can do, but we experience it at every spectrum from front to back in our everyday lives.
And now DocSpace is sort of the next iteration of this, in that it's easy to use and you don't need to be able to code, and it's secure because you're not throwing stuff, all over the internet. You can do it locally.
That's right. And, I think one of the biggest things too is we want to talk about the top 10 people in this industry, or companies in this industry that are driving people wild, right? With their great successes. You talk about Automation Anywhere. You talk about Blue Prism, Pega, UiPath. Really, I mean, there's so many different ones, even Kofax, right? But just like I said earlier when I started this, if you have Adobe, you should have us. Oh, but by the way, if you have one of these systems, you should also have us. So some of the people make a mistake when they ask about DocSpace and say, are you just another RPA platform that competes with those? And I say, absolutely not. That's not what we do. We are not just some other platform directly going for it. No, we're supplementary to that process because there's a lot of gaps in between, just like we discussed, some of the challenges, right? Learning curves, different things that we have to go through to evolve into the right type of automated processes, right? That's where we're filling those gaps. So when companies are turning those processes over and they're going, hey, I need a tool for this, that's where we come in. So you can either do it in 4 lines of code and fix that document automatically now, or pop our guy in, put some doc space on it, and now all of a sudden you can scale and you can do a dozen documents on demand if you want, or do 12 million in a day, your choice. It scales to whatever you choose. And so that big gap into how do I, automate this process? Well, I have to go build this whole custom workflow now to open it. No, just plug our stuff in, manipulate the document, and then spit it right back into the existing workflow. So again, if you have any of these big systems, you've made all of these huge investments, right? Well, this is a no-brainer. This is the part you're already automating and wasting time and money on right now. So we're just making it simple, but then the best part of it is that now consumers have an application that they can actually use our own technology right there on their desktop.
And how does the cost of the software compare to the cost of implementing like custom code?
You know what? That's a great choice because, in terms of wording, because for a consumer, you can start doing all your stuff for literally $12 a month. I mean, it doesn't, pricing might vary slightly, but my point is for that $10, $12 range, that's really where we're at. And you can do an annual class, you can do it, a monthly, whatever. Regardless, it's meant to be flexible and not financially, burdensome to those that never had access to this technology before. So we'll limit volume, we'll limit, the types of things, but functionalities and everything are pretty much fair game for everyone. And that's how we're working to democratize RPA for everyone in this industry right now. That's the way we're going to do it. But if you need a full-blown custom installation, we call that build your own galaxy, right? DocSpace, thank you. I'm in marketing. You build your own galaxy. You need to build your own elements, custom everything. We've got that too, and those, 6, 7, 8-figure deals, whatever, those get handled on their own. But that's not the idea. It's not meant to be so outrageously expensive no one can have it. It's meant to be brought to the masses, and it scales either way. So that's a lot of the fun, is that these other technologies that we've talked about, we've mentioned, there's no way an everyday average person could ever touch one of those things. So when you see people in organizations really pushing for like Microsoft's Flows, which is now Power Automate, right? We talk about other platforms that have millions of applications and users all intertwined with systems with if then or that. Those types of automations are essentially other examples of bringing everyday RPA to the people, a simplified format that you could do on a mobile device, right? Well, we're bringing that for document manipulation and file management. So we all have our own files. We all have very large files that sometimes we can't send through email. Well, now if you have DocSpace, like you should, well, then now you can easily compress, manipulate, send a document. You would never have to worry about it again. So those everyday Monday processes that drive us wild can easily be fixed for a few bucks. But the idea is to bring it to everyone, not just keep it exclusive for enterprises that want to burn through some cash. That's not the point of this. We're trying to change the world here.
All right, Derek Gerber, changing the world through automation.
That's right. Hey.
We covered a ton of ground here. One takeaway about automation that people should glean from this, or dispel a misconception. What's the final point here?
Automation is your friend. I'm not here to sell you the story. I'm here to tell you the story, all right? We see so much growth happening in the market because of this. It's not really a detriment to any of the labor numbers you hear about that come out, right? It's really not pegging towards that. It's actually helping spark a whole new catalyst for debate as to where does the future of jobs go? What do we want to spend our time focusing on if we don't have to worry about all these little things? And again, it could be very, very mundane tasks, but we're really trying to help people expand and grow and have a better experience, not only for the customers and the end of businesses, but in people's everyday lives. I don't want you to sit around and feel like you're struggling to buy that house because you have to get all these documents in order and process them a certain way. If you have our technology platform, I want to take your house buying process from months into days. If you have a kid and you need to submit a medical record but you don't feel comfortable with information, I want to make it easy for anyone to redact personal information. And those software platforms cost hundreds or thousands of dollars. That's ridiculous. So we're democratizing the ability for people to manage their own files without asking for too much. We're not asking for an arm and a leg here. We're really just trying to make it accessible for everyone in the world. So everyone's got a fair game of some really awesome automation technologies here.
Derek, thank you so much. This is a great discussion.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for taking the time.
If you'd like more content on automation,
if you're executing manually on things that you shouldn't, then you're wasting cycles where you can use your own resources as a leader, your team's resources more effectively by focusing on the core tasks, the core values, the strategy of the company.
If you haven't already, check out episode 55, where Chen Amit of Tipalti shares his insights on why automation is more than just a cost-saving strategy. Well, that's all we have for today. As always, thank you for listening.
This has been Inside Forbes Councils. Please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're a member of the Forbes Councils and would like to participate in our podcast series, please email your member concierge. If you're interested in joining a Forbes Council, learn more at ForbesCouncils.com.